I'll let you into a secret. I just missed out on my first potential opportunity of 2025 by being an absolute melon. Look at EU, it looks absolutely perfect. We've got no daily staging, but everything from the 4 hour down to the entry timeframes just looked exactly the sort of trade that I look to take. DXY was even cleaner. Stellar for a quick long on EU, which would have been about a 5-1. But the secret is I missed out on it. But actually the charts, they don't matter. Because even though I missed out on this trade, on securing near 5% profit to start the year off, it serves me something else of value. And this is the lessons and the reminders that it instantly delivers to me, and it's at the beginning of a year. Would I have rather caught it? Absolutely. But whenever something like this happens, whenever for a reason you make an error, you make a mistake, it's always important to take away the lessons. And this is something that I observe in a lot of traders, is they don't ever learn the lesson. They just constantly repeat in that cycle of bad behaviors, of negative behavior patterns. There's 3 key lessons to take away from this that I'm going to share, and it's going to be extremely insightful for all of you. As I've referred to recently, expectations are what I see kill the majority of traders' results. If you're break even, if you're a losing trader, the expectations that have been socially programmed into you, that you've come into this game with, even if you're a year, 2 years, 3 years deep, these expectations that you hold, i.e. the deep-rooted inner beliefs that you have about trading, about winning, about money, these are what cause the most issues, and they're all created through expectations. So my whole point with sharing more throughout this year on YouTube is to ensure that there is some sort of realistic representation of what to expect in your experience of trading. So let's talk about exactly why I missed this trade. The reason why I missed this trade, and the instant reminder of what I need to take away from this starting 2025, is perfection doesn't exist. So everything was textbook on this for me. There was no daily stage, so it was just a quick scalp play. I knew exactly where my profit targets were, and it played out to my max TP. I knew exactly where I wanted my stop. I'd seen all of the development that I needed in order to place my entry. I use limit orders the majority of the time, so I placed my limit order. What I ended up doing wrong is I was looking for perfection. I wasn't satisfied with the typical entry that I'd usually take. For whatever reason, I went down onto lower timeframes than I typically would, and I refined my entry because I wanted that pip perfect scalp. I wanted that pinpoint pip perfect scalp. Say that 17 times. Because I refined my entry in which I would have gained an extra 0.2, 0.3% profit, looking for that absolute perfection, seeking out that perfection to fulfill my desire and my OCD, and call it a little bit of what you want, a little bit of the tism. Because I seeked that out, it caused me to miss out on a near 5% position because I wanted that little bit of extra profit. And the key lesson and takeaway for all of you watching, and you don't have to pay the price because I paid it for you, the key lesson is perfection doesn't exist. When you're seeing the development in price action that you want, when your confluences are stacking, don't look to refine to the most absolute accurate pinpoint entry that you can get to squeeze out that tiny, minuscule more profit, because there will be opportunities when it leaves you on the side. There'll be opportunities that it works out, but there will be more opportunities where you get left on the side. This was something that I struggled with when I first started learning this strategy, when I first started diving into this style. It's just the way that my personality, my brain is wired. My experience through live trading and also through forward testing, when you see the accuracy of this style, when you see day in, day out, the price action delivering on specific numbers to the pip, pinpoint from one area to another area, from one area to another area, you start to understand exactly how accurate and how powerful this style of trading can be. If you indulge yourself, what will end up happening is you'll be looking for round numbers. You'll be looking to refine this down to the 1 minute time frame. People go even lower than the 1 minute time frame, so I don't feel too bad about myself. But you look to refine in order to get the most accurate, I think they call them snipers, sniper entry possible, which a lot of the times means that you will get swerved on positions. You won't get the entry and you'll miss out on the profit. So it hasn't been something that I've experienced for a long time. But coming into 2025, first trade opportunity that met my plan, should have been an opportunity that I banked on, and I tried to over refine and seek out absolute perfection, and it caused me to be left on the sideways. So the key takeaway for me, something you can learn from yourself, is we're not looking for perfection. When we see all of our confluences aligning, price action developing exactly how we want it to, it's our job to execute our entries without hesitation. There's another key takeaway which I think will be very insightful for all of you. Those of you who are on your trading journeys, you've been trading a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, and you've still not found break even and profitability. I've been trading for over 10 years now, and still to this day, I have intrusive thoughts. I have impulsive thoughts. I have emotions that arise. You would have seen briefly when I showed you the chart at the beginning, the move happened extremely quickly. When I saw that move happening, I'm not immune to having those impulsive thoughts. When it was moving, I could see in my head, because you revert back to things that have happened before, right? This is how your intrusive thoughts happen. And if you don't develop something that I call community of mind, where you become the observer of your thoughts, you become very attached to the thoughts. And instead of recognizing that the thoughts aren't you, they aren't your form of self, and you actually have control over which ones you give power to and not. And you can question them, and you can judge them, and you can ask them for logical reasoning of whatever the thought is suggesting to you. But when you're attached to your thoughts and they just happen, most people just indulge in the thoughts and they don't understand that that's just their emotions. You're having a physiological reaction, and that is your emotional brain taking over your thoughts. So the expectation that I want to set for everyone who is watching this video, and this is the realistic view of trading, so even when you are 10 years into this, you still have those intrusive thoughts. You're not immune to having those physical reactions, but with experience and the right mindset and the right knowledge, you're able to overcome when you feel those physical sensations take over. When you hear those thoughts that arise, you can detach from those thoughts and you can make logical decisions. So I thought about it for probably 5 seconds and moved on. I didn't look to then jump into the trade in some way. I wasn't looking to catch the move whilst it was already running, because what you're doing when you're exposing yourself to that kind of impulsiveness, your stop's always going to be off, your entry's going to be off, you're going to have capped risk reward. And when we're just at the beginning of the year, this is the first of hundreds of opportunities that we're going to get the chance to take advantage of this year. So we don't need to be jumping in on everything. So when we don't get the trade that follows our plan, we can detach from it and say, okay, if it plays out, great. My bias was there. I have a lesson that I can take away from this. Overall, it's great because it shows that my chart work is correct. It shows that if I keep turning up 95% of the time this year, I'm going to bank that trade every single time. But it serves those crucial reminders. So that second insight for all of you is, no matter how much experience you have, no matter how much you trade, no matter how much mindset work that you do, you're never going to be immune to not feeling emotions or having impulsive thoughts. It's something that will always happen to you. You just have to have a method and a strategy behind how you manage your emotional volatility in those scenarios. And with experience, with time, with the right mindset, you get over it very quickly. Those thoughts come into your mind. You say, I felt this 7,000 times before. Move on. I'm not chasing this trade. If it doesn't enter me where I was looking to enter this trade, then it's not a trade that's valid to my plan. So when you see more experienced traders, when you think about the expectations of where your mindset needs to get to in order to be a profitable trader, don't have the expectations that emotions completely disappear. Don't have the expectation that at some point in your journey, you're not going to be susceptible to feeling these thoughts and these physical sensations when you have some sort of trigger, some sort of threat that your brain is processing on the charts in front of you. And then the last insight that I just want to give you, and this is just really a quick practical, because I think it's very important when we're talking about mindset. When I used to watch through other people's mindset content or read books, and I did all my research and my studying, a lot of the advice that you get isn't practical. So what that means, it's still beneficial because a lot of it's based on self-awareness, but no one really gives you that practical insight into how you build that self-awareness or how you build the correct mindset or how you build discipline. So something that I'm very cautious with whenever I talk about trading psychology, I want to ensure it's practical. I want to ensure that it's something that you can actually implement into your day-to-day routine, into your habits going forwards, into your behaviors going forwards. Otherwise, it's just kind of guesswork of who's going to take this the right way. We all perceive things in different ways. So if I just purely said something to you, 90% of you are going to perceive it very differently to how I'm trying to get the message across. So a practical piece of advice that I'd suggest for someone who goes through something where there's a lesson to take away from it, for the instances where you make an error and you miss out on a trade, or you make an error and you mismanage a trade, or you take a bad entry. One of the most beneficial processes that you can implement into your daily routine, into your trading routine, is whenever you have made that error, whenever you have made that mistake, it is absolutely vital to journal that down in the moment. I'm not going to go into the benefits of journaling from the minute that you're thinking about taking a trade. That's a process which it needs to be talked about in its entirety, and also your management as that position is running out and you're thinking about making different decisions to what your plan is suggesting you should do. I'm not going to talk about that. We'll save that for another day. What I just want to talk about is when you've made these errors and these mistakes, if you don't have a proper process, you just put this simple step into that scenario whenever you've created that mistake or whenever you've made that error. It's extremely simple, but I want you to go write it down. I want you to just get your thoughts out on a piece of paper. And then this practical exercise, something that you've probably heard of before, problem shared is a problem halved. So what a lot of people are completely unaware of is a lot of the mindset issues that you face in your trading, that you experience over and over again. A lot of these mindset issues are caused from extremely small things. An extremely small error like this, which starts off with this tiny little effect, and then it grows and it grows and it grows, like the snowball analogy. The further it goes down the hill, the bigger it gets, and then at some point there's a big event. So what I noticed whilst working with members within Edge is a lot of these guys, they were unaware of what their root causes were. All they knew is there was a main event, whether it was blowing an account, whether it was going on a 7% losing drawdown, whatever that may be. They never had a process to identify what the initial trigger was. And the most common thing that I observed through looking at people's data, going through and helping different people, different traders who were experiencing strong mindset issues, a lot of the times what would happen, it would be on a Thursday or a Friday that they would make an error. They then wouldn't think about it over the weekend. So they're going into a new week. Consciously, they don't think there's anything wrong. They don't see that error as that big of a thing. They think that they've let it go. But subconsciously, that's stuck in their mind. Subconsciously, the next time that they face a little bit of resistance on the charts, all those emotions are now tenfold, and it's causing bigger problems for them. But they never actually get to the root cause. And a lot of the times, all that you need to do, and this is the practice that I'm encouraging you to do, all that you need to do is journal a mistake down after you've done it. Write down exactly what happened, why it happened, what's the lesson, what's the takeaway, and what steps are you going to take in order to not let that mistake happen again. That's how you learn from a lesson, not just by simply being self-aware of it. You need a practical process in order to work through it. What that allows you to do as a trader is now detach yourself and detach your mind from that specific error. When you don't write it down, it's going to be working away subconsciously in your mind, and it will interfere in your trading decisions. An exercise as simple as writing down the mistakes that you made, the lessons that you've learned, and the steps in order to not make that mistake again, i.e. learn the lesson, allows you to release the detachment that you hold to the mistakes that you've made, which also helps keep your self-image intact. And your self-image is crucial in order to have the confidence that you've got the competence to expose yourself to risk regularly and be someone who knows how to execute without hesitation. To be honest, a lot of the practical mindset work is extremely simple. It's just a case of doing it. A lot of the content that you've probably watched before is overcomplicating it. They're trying to make it extremely scary for someone to go out into the world of working on their mind by themselves, but it doesn't have to be. There's practical steps, simple steps that just require effort, and over time you will see the results that you want. So the next time this happens, all I want you to do is journal it down, keep a record of it, not only so that you can have that peace and detach from whatever that error may be, because it's no good holding on to these things because then they 100% will snowball, but at least it gives you a record if in 3 weeks' time you're not sure what's gone wrong, but you've now made 5 more mistakes. At least it gives you that root cause to go back to and say, this was the beginning of the snowball. Anyway, I got to get back to normal. Hope that me missing out on my first trade of the year, leaving profit on the table, has been deep, insightful, and given you some lessons and takeaways as we move on into January.